Welcome back to the Game Smash Podcast. As always, I'm your host, William Liberty, and with me is...
Fawaz Muhammad Yusuf.
And today we got lots of stuff to talk about. We got ESL launches the new Esports Association. We got Project Spark gets dropped. We got Uncharted 4 review fiasco. We got Capcom deciding to shift their priorities. We got possible Resident Evil 7 in the works. And the Overwatch Dragon short. But before we get into that, let's talk about what we played this week. So I played some more FF10, just, enjoying the game, getting through the levels. I think I got to the Thunder Plains.
Or that's where the lightning bolt keeps trying to strike you, right?
Yeah, I don't know how to dodge lightning in that game. It's like...
There's a flash, it's been a while, but if I remember correctly, there should be a flash of white on your screen right before the lightning hits you, and then you hit some button. I can't remember what button.
X. The only thing that happens with me is I'll see the flash and I'll be like, oh wait, I need to press X, and then I'm already getting thrown across the ground, and I'm just.
Well, you better get good at it, Tanner, because you gotta dodge. I think 100 in a row to unlock Lulu's ultimate weapon. So yeah, good luck.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
You can do it, Tanner. I have faith in you.
I was just flat out just walking around, just mashing the X button, and that still wasn't working.
I'm sure if you concentrated, because when I was younger and I did that was exactly my reaction too. I looked up online how to unlock all the ultimate weapons, and it was like you gotta dodge 100 lightning bolts in a row, and I was like, that's not going to happen. But honestly, it's not that it seems really hard at first, but once you, I guess
once you get the timing, it wouldn't be as hard. But I'm still like, ugh.
Yeah, it is a grind, no doubt, but it's not. I think it's. I have faith in you, Tanner.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe I'll be able to do it. But other than that, I've been playing through that. Oh, just to respond to one of J Street's comments. It's not. I don't actually hate Titus. I think he's kind of a loser. But I haven't beaten the game yet, so my opinion on Titus could change. But boy,
I don't think it will.
But boy, was my first impressions not that great. Oh, but I will admit though, Kamari is the best. Kamari is the absolute best.
That's the blue guy.
That's the blue guy. Yes. Because Kamari says nothing for half of the game, and all he does is just shake his head at Titus. It's the best. And then I just played some Rainbow Six Siege. Didn't get the new operators weren't officially released when I was playing, but they were released for the season pass owners, so I kind of got to see them in action at least a little bit.
I thought you had the season pass.
No, not really. I just I never picked it up.
You bought Frost, right?
Yeah, I bought Frost.
Okay.
But I ended up seeing Valkyrie, who is the defender with the extra cameras.
Yeah.
And she is really useful. Especially those cameras are so much better than the regular cameras on the maps because they're so much harder to find. And they just make a huge damn difference. But other than that, that's what I played this week. What about you, Fawaz?
Well, I wish I could do something different, but it's pretty much exactly where I was last week. I'm just sitting around waiting for Overwatch to come out. I did get some good news though. Apparently the game is coming out. They moved the launch up a day. GameSpot called me yesterday, and apparently I can pick the game up on the 23rd. Now, to be fair, the actual servers don't launch until midnight on the 23rd. However, this allows me to come home, install the game, download any update that they might have released, and it means that because on Tuesday I was buying it retail. Shout out to Street Fighter 5. So so what it meant was that on Tuesday I was gonna have to leave my house in the morning, go down to EV Games, buy it, come back. But now I can just wake up or not sleep at all and just play straight into Tuesday. So it's cool. So that's good news there. Other than that, I play a little bit of Hearthstone. I completed my quest, nice. but I just don't care anymore.
You just want to get your hands on Overwatch.
I think okay, like to focus on Hearthstone for a little bit. Part of it is just the Overwatch crave, and it's affecting everything. Because like Guilty Gear 2, I went out to this there's this weekly thing that I go to. I went out and I've been playing really poorly of late, and this started even before Overwatch. But but yeah, I with Hearthstone, I don't think I care anymore. You know, I try to watch tournaments to see like some decks that I might like. I play a little bit, but I it's just I don't know. I don't know if it's just the hand lock nerf. I don't think so because I didn't only play hand lock. I think part of the problem is there's a hand lock nerf, and then it's you know whenever something changes, right? It's you notice the bad before you notice the good. So right now I'm going through that time where I can't play any of the decks that I used to like playing anymore. You know,
okay.
I mean, sure, I can still play them in Wild, but I just can't take Wild seriously. You know, I mean, Blizzard isn't, so I just can't. You know, I can't play Secret Paladin anymore. I can't play Mid-Range Hunter anymore, and I can't play Handlock anymore. I can't play Temple Mage. I practically cannot play any of the decks I used to play before. So like it's tough now because I'm just sitting around and I don't know what to play. I boot up the game. I'm playing the new zoo, and the new zoo is a good bit of fun. I can't lie. But yeah, maybe I'll try to grind out ladder. I mean, not this month because it's too late already. Maybe next month I'll try to grind out ladder with the new zoo because I do like the deck actually. But yeah, I'm still going through. I'm still in mourning of the death of Handlock. So yeah, that makes it tough for me to put too much time into Hearthstone. But yeah, guess what, Tanner? This is going to be, by the grace of God, this is going to be the last podcast we do where I won't be playing Overwatch. So yeah, you can already tell what I've been playing on the next podcast. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, moving into some news, Tanner.
Yeah, so we got ESL launches a new esports association, WESA. So it's the World Esports Association, and I guess it's supposed to be a new voice for esports players. Should be good, I guess. But what are your thoughts on this for us?
Okay, so it's a pretty cool idea. So it's because ESL is primarily a European thing. I forget what it actually stands for. Shout outs to Game Smash Journalism.
Yeah.
It's the teams involved are Fnatic, spelled without an A because why not? G2, FaZe, spelled with a Z, Virtus Pro, not Virtuous, Virtus. Natus, Vince, like everything here is spelled wrong. What's the matter with you kids? Envious, actually no Envious. They have an Overwatch team. They're okay. Moose and Ninjas in Pajamas because they saved the best for last. So they're joining together, and I'm guessing they're trying to consolidate. They're trying to create because like esports has. There's a bunch of different leagues in esports, and I think one of Jay Street's questions actually touched on this a little while back, where he was like, should we have one big league that kind of overlooks everything? And I think I said yes, and this is tied into that because these are steps taken towards having a bigger league overlooking everything. So it's going to consolidate the rules. And I think this is good. I think this is a step in the right direction. You know what, people shit on esports. They talk about how they're not real sports, completely missing the point and all that shit. But at the end of the day, man, the fact of the matter is this is a growing business.
Yeah.
And there is like people really like watching video game tournaments. Like, okay, I don't know if you remember, but Twitch TV is actually a spin-off of another channel. Do you remember?
I do not remember.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be Justin TV.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it used to be Justin TV, and then they had they just used to stream like stuff, And then the video game streams were really, really, really popular. So they made a spin-off called Twitch TV that has become significantly. I don't even think Justin TV exists anymore. So yeah, people love this. There is a lot. There is a huge opportunity here, and I'm glad to see that these guys are pouncing on it. And maybe this doesn't work out, but I'm glad to see somebody taking the initiative, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I pretty much agree with pretty much everything you're saying. It's like I'm interested in seeing where this. Sorry.
I said pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm just saying I agree with you. Where I'm losing my train of thought. Everything's falling apart. No, Fawaz, what have you done? Okay, my point. I take a deep breath. It's coming back. Here we go. So my point, which was lost for me for a couple seconds, was that I pretty much agree with everything that you said, and that I'm interested to see where this is going to go going forward. It could be good, it could be bad, but I see it more positive than negative coming from this at the end of the day. But our next piece of news is Project Spark gets dropped. The game will be officially canceled in August. So, for those who don't know, Project Spark was basically a game kind of similar to Little Big Planet in some ways, in which you would build levels, or you would build games, essentially, in this sort of like sandbox creator, and you could share or download other people's games. And, I wouldn't say it got the best press, because one of the only things I remember about Project Spark was the god-awful Conquer tie-in.
Yeah.
And that may have killed the game. But some more news about it was essentially more and more people that were working on the game initially left for other projects in Microsoft. So the development team just got smaller and smaller and smaller, to the point where they just can't feasibly keep the game going anymore.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, and they basically said you will still be able to play the game locally. So any levels that you've downloaded or you've created for yourself, you can play, but you cannot download any more levels or share any more levels by August, which really sucks, because that kind of kills the whole point of this game.
Yeah.
Because like that's the biggest aspect about this game, is being able to share and download, and because that service will no longer be even there, I don't really see there being much point to even own Project Spark at this point. No. So it sucks. Like, I mean, like, honestly, like, it sucks, but it doesn't really affect me that much, because I was never that interested in Project Spark. I mean, like, it was kind of a cool idea, but they really fucked things over by pissing me off with that Conquer stuff. But what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I've been shaking my head this whole time, because this is such a wasted opportunity by Microsoft.
Yeah.
When this game was announced, I was so excited. It looked like you said, a 3D version of Little Big Planet. It was a really, really good idea that was executed as poorly as possible. Like, forget the Conquer thing. First of all, this game was just not marketed well. Part of the problem was that, unlike Little Big Planet, Project Spark did not have an avatar. It didn't have a Sackboy it didn't have a Sackboy to grab people's attention. But Microsoft also just did not promote the game at all. Like, I didn't even know when the game came out. And it was an absolute mess. Now and then there weren't a lot of tie-ins. Like, you look at Little Big Planet, and I'm just gonna keep comparing it to Little Big Planet, because why not? You look at Little Big Planet, and Sony consistently supported the game with cross-promotional stuff. Even the first Little Big Planet, you had the Metal Gear Solid DLC pack where it introduced the gun and a couple of other things. You have like the constant Marvel and DC tie-ins. There's tie-ins to practically every single Sony IP. That they did a very good job with. Man, I'm gonna miss Little Big Planet. Just a side note. Dreams has a lot to live up to. But yeah, man, like Microsoft, I mean, the writing has been on the wall, because like I said, this game was just not handled well. But it's still really sad to see it happen, because when it was announced, I was like, okay, this is a step in the right direction for Microsoft. They're not just focusing on on third person on shooters and just American type games. They're
Yeah.
broadening their perspectives, and this should help them in other markets. And now to hear that this is getting canceled, how many years later? It really really makes me sad, and I'm so disappointed in Microsoft for the way they handled this situation. It's a pity.
Yeah.
It's a real pity.
Yeah, it really does kind of suck because, yeah, there could have been a lot of potential with this. It's
Yeah.
just a series of really bad choices kind of led to this just not going anywhere. It didn't. I just find it kind of funny because the game itself is kind of, I guess, it's meant to be Project Spark. It's meant to be spark your imagination, right? And this is like anything but.
Yeah.
But anyway, hopefully the people who did work on Project Spark are working on new projects, and hopefully we can see something kind of different from Microsoft in the future.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, oh boy. So this is a really clusterfuck of information, but there's a Uncharted 4 review fiasco. Now I'm going to try and do the Cliff Notes version from what I can tell. So basically, someone from the Washington Post made a review of Uncharted 4, and it was a very negative review, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people were mad about that, but that's how reviews go. You're gonna get positive reviews and you're gonna get negative reviews. There were a couple things though where this particular review was a little bit weird about how he was complaining that the game had too much detail. And other little things like that, but that's a little bit par for the course. But the thing that got really stupid was he didn't really have a score for his review, right? So he posted it onto Metacritic, and Metacritic, I guess, I think we talked about this, has an algorithm or something like that automatically scores reviews depending on the words and the details that are in the review. So he gave Uncharted 4 a 4 out of 10. And people were kind of like, what the fuck? So this led a lot of people getting really mad at this guy and essentially wanting people to sign a petition to take this review down, or at least have it revised. And it's just kind of a clusterfuck that just kind of stemmed from this one guy's review. Now I have one thing I have to say about this, and it's like, I don't have problems with the initial review. I may have some, obviously I'm going to disagree to a certain extent, because I've heard this guy was also shitting on Dark Souls 2, and honestly, like, yes, I got problems with Dark Souls 2, but he was calling it like a terrible game, and it's not a terrible game. But the thing that bothered me the most is that this guy had the audacity to take the professional route and put his review, like, have it almost automatically scored on Metacritic. And this is the thing, and I've said this so many times, don't use Metacritic. I completely anti-endorse Metacritic, because the problem I have with Metacritic is that, yes, it's a collection of reviews, but it's too easy for those reviews to get like piled over the shitty reviews. Like, you have a pile of these reviews and comments on Metacritic, and you'll have one decent review of a game. But then you'll have one blind praise that just praises the game, 100% scores, nothing at fault, better than, Kraft Dinner. But then you have you also have the piles of reviews that are just 0 out of 10, worst game ever, burn it with fire. And I hate that about Metacritic. And it's like any of the good, decent criticisms get piled into this shit box. And the other thing that I hate about it is that, you get these really odd scores, because it's like you don't get, like, you have because it's percentages, right? Because it will calculate, like, 71 out of 100 or 60 out of 100, right? And it's all calculated. So the problem with this calculation is that you'll have a couple of, like, decently reviewed like scores, and then you'll have but then you'll have all the shit reviews, so the scores get really off balance. So you'll see really odd Metacritic scores for games. And I just everything about Metacritic I find just so infuriating to me. I will say this. I do find the petition thing to be a little bit overkill, like at least a little bit. Like personally, I don't think that he should take the review down. I think that at the very least he should have put his own score. Like his own score. Like even according to the article, he was confused at the score. So I feel like at the very least he should put his own score in his review instead of throwing it into the Metacritic cauldron.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just find this to be a little bit silly. But what do you think about it, Fawaz?
Well, okay, so I'm going to tackle this from 2 points. First of all, I'll tackle your Metacritic, criticism, I guess, because I don't really get it. You know, it's like using Uncharted as an example. It has a 93 on Metacritic right now, so you know it's got 90 of the 97 critic. Okay, the thing is that first of all, it splits it up, right? It splits it up between critic reviews and user reviews. Of the 97 critics that have reviewed Metacritic, 96 that have reviewed Uncharted,
Metacritic. Okay, yeah.
96 of them have been positive, and only one of them has been negative. I'll let you guess which one. So like at the end of the day, it's an aggregate site. That's I think that's actually what they call themselves. You know, if for someone like for me, for example, if I want to know what IGN thinks about a game, I'll go to IGN.com. But if I want to know what all the critics think about a game on average, you go to Metacritic and then you see what the average review score is. Because, you know, if one person scores it 100, another person scores it 0, then the average review score is 50, right?
I see where you're getting at,
yeah.
But the only problem I have with that is that you're saying that it's an I forget the word you just said, an abbreviated. Sorry?
It's a I can't remember, amalgamation.
Basically of critic scores, right?
Yeah.
The problem I have with that statement is that not all the people that are on Metacritic I would call critics. I would call them commenters. That's the only problem.
It doesn't add commenters' scores to the Metacritic score. And that's what I was saying, is that there's the critic side and there's the user review side, right? Now, like critics are, for example, I'm looking at the Uncharted right now. Number 1 is PlayStation Lifestyle, Giant Bomb, Escapist Magazine, Game Informer, IP Times UK, IGN Sweden. These are actual like websites with clout. On the left side, you've got Pagalo, EFY Evan, T-Wiz76, Junior Player, and X5 Critic, who gave it a 0, by the way, in case you're wondering. So shout out to X5 Critic.
Yeah, thank you for proving my point.
But yeah, you know, like the critic side, it actually is
okay. I see. Okay, sorry. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, users can't affect anything's actual Metacritic score. It affects the user score. So so there's that. Now moving on to the actual issue here, right? This is such bullshit. Like since when? Why are people not like? And this is one thing that I hate about gamers is that people are just not gamers. People. This is one thing I hate about people is that people are just not allowed to disagree with you at all. If you like a game, everybody else has to like the game. Let me give you an example. What's his name? Yahtzee reviewed The Last of Us and he gave it a bad review. But I mean, to be fair, Yahtzee gives everything a bad review. But he gave The Last of Us a bad review. And now, to be fair, there were some things that he criticized about The Last of Us that were actually incorrect, right?
Yeah.
And if people brought those points up, I would have completely been behind them. But they didn't do that. They just criticized Yahtzee for disagreeing with them. And he was like, "What is the matter with you people? If you like the game, like the game. I didn't." You know, look off my back, right? And it's the honest to God truth. Now, I understand some parts of the criticism here make sense because the review, it felt like it read like a user review. You know, it did not read like a review of the Washington Post. It felt like somebody snuck into the Washington Post and just wrote a review. You know, so I completely agree with that part. I agree with that part. And but for me, this is something that's been boiling over for a while now because like this always happens. You know, whenever someone gives like people have gotten criticized one of the people that works at IGN gave Uncharted an 8.8. People were criticizing her for it. An 8.8. They were criticizing her, saying that she has a female agenda because she gave Tomb Raider a 9.1 and Uncharted an 8.8. I'm like, are you guys serious? Are you guys actually really arguing over 0.3 bits?
That's yeah, I agree with you. That's stupid.
And then they go out and they make a petition to have the Washington Post review removed. And like Troy Baker, shame on you, Troy Baker. First of all, actually signs this petition. Are you kidding me, people? If you enjoy this game so much, why are you not playing why are you busy making petitions? You should be busy playing the goddamn game. Like you using let me just bring it back to Overwatch as an example, right? Mm-hmm. Me and Jason had a discussion about the game a little while back, and he was complaining about hero stacking. He said he didn't like it, right? Mm-hmm. That's completely fair, man. If you don't like hero stacking, you don't like hero stacking, and that's the end of the day. But when we got into an argument, was his reasoning behind it, right? I didn't agree with his reasoning because I thought that it was incorrect, right? He said that hero stacking reduces the variety, and I was like, that's factually incorrect, you know. Mm-hmm. The fact that you can have duplicates of a hero actually increases the number of
combinations.
It increases the number. Like this is a mathematical fact. That was my only disagreement. And I said during the argument, I was like, if you don't like it, you don't like it, man. That's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. And it's not going to make me think less of you as a person, just because you disagree with me. And that's that, If Overwatch comes out and I'm loving the game and it has a 0 on Metacritic, best believe I won't care. I'll be surprised. Yeah. I'll read some of these reviews to see what people disliked about it. But I won't make a petition. I won't lose sleep over it because so long as I'm enjoying the game and there are actual people online playing this game, nothing else matters. Yeah. I don't know, like some people were writing like trying so hard to justify this shit, talking about how some developers get benefits based on the Metacritic score. So because like the Washington Post review brought Uncharted down from like a 96 to a 95 or something like that. Yeah. And people were like that, they might have lost a bonus because of that. I'm like, that is bullshit and you know it. That is complete and utter bullshit and you know it. I'm almost 100% sure nobody in Naughty Dog is losing sleep over this. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure.
So first of all, Uncharted 4 is one of the highest reviewed games of this generation. Forget this year. And then on top of that, it's one of the highest selling games on the PS4. Yes, it's actually it's currently the highest reviewed PS4 game. Yeah. Period. I'll be very surprised if anyone in Naughty Dog is losing sleep over this. Best believe I wouldn't be losing sleep over this if I worked at Naughty Dog. I mean, at the end of the day, there'll be some people that will just disagree with you. Like that's just the nature. That's just the nature of life. You can't please everyone, no matter what you do. So, like, I don't understand why people get upset when somebody doesn't like something that they like. It baffles my mind, and this is the dangerous part, right? Is that we criticize video game journalism for being. We criticize reviewers for sticking to the script, doing what they're supposed to do, giving the big games good reviews and all this stuff. And then when someone doesn't, we criticize them too. It's like I understand part of the criticism comes from shock value, right? Some people, like for example, this Washington Post, like I'm pretty sure they got more clicks this past couple months.
Yeah, they probably did. Yeah, in a lot of ways. Honestly, it's like I don't really mind that he gave Uncharted 4 a bad review. I haven't even played Uncharted 4. I'm going to state that right now. I have not played Uncharted 4, which is why I don't want to say my opinion on Uncharted 4 because I haven't played it, right? Yeah. And I don't think it's fair to just say a game's good or bad, if I haven't played it or I haven't experienced for myself. So the only problem I have with this is that it's not the bad review that I thought was a little bit annoying. It was the fact that the review itself was a little bit, subpar in quality. Yeah. And I don't say that as, I disagree with his opinion. I'm saying that the quality of the review itself was a little bit off.
So you're reviewing the review.
I'm reviewing the review itself, not the... Yeah, I know. Okay, it's weird. It's weird for me to say, but it's more like... It's
No,
more.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, you know
I
what
get
I
what you
mean. Yeah, like I was more annoyed by how he reviewed the game than the actual score he gave it.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
score
no,
he gave it, I was fine with. Like it's
Mhm.
like at the end of the day, there's certain games that people aren't going to like, and there's certain games that I hate this game, but I like this game, and people have different opinions,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and sorry.
and it's the variety of opinions that allows us to get different experiences. Because if everyone just liked the same things, then we would only get the same things.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. I know, I completely agree with you. Like, there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing wrong with disliking a game. One thing that I do dislike with certain reviews is, okay, see, there's a difference when a reviewer says something like, this game is very short. I beat this game in 3 hours. That's very. I don't want to say that's a fact, but that's very close to a fact. The average person can beat this game. The Order 1886. That's a short game. The average person can beat that game in a couple of sittings. This is, and then to add to that, The Witcher 3 is longer than The Order 1886. This is also a fact. There is no way you can twist anything to make The Order longer than The Witcher 3. Period. Right? Yeah. So, if you subtract score for that, that's fine, right? Because say me, I look at your review and I'm like, okay, I don't care about long games. In fact, au contraire, I like my games short. I look at your review, and even though you subtracted points for The Order being short, I'll be like, okay, that doesn't affect me, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. See, so that's why that's the element. I don't mind that. But when you criticize a game for something like Killer Instinct 3, I didn't criticize it because they didn't like the character designs. That's completely subjective.
Yeah.
That is 100% subjective. There are no facts involved there.
Mm-hmm.
You can be like, okay, the designs look like something out of the 90s, and then you compare the designs to designs of how people did in the 90s, and that's a little more factual. But saying I don't like the designs is completely subjective. That's what element of reviews that I don't like, right? When you criticize a game for something that is 100% subjective,
Yeah.
But that's another story on its own. This Uncharted 4 review fiasco is some bullshit. Everybody that signed that petition should be ashamed of themselves, especially you, Troy Baker. I know you listen to this podcast.
Troy Baker, yeah, of course, Troy Baker.
I'm calling you out right now, Troy Baker. I love you. I love the work you've done. He's the one that voiced Joel, right?
He voiced Joel. He's done a ton of stuff. He voiced the Joker at one point, actually.
Yeah. I remember that. He did such a good Mark Hamill impression.
Yeah.
I love you, Troy Baker. I love a lot of the voices you've done, but you should be ashamed of yourself for supporting this petition. This is some bullshit.
I think at the end of the day, to take at least from my opinion, one, don't do petitions. Petitions are kind of silly, and they're just kind of stupid in general. And two, be careful when you use Metacritic. Just be careful. Like, I don't like it, but Fawaz made a good point that there's a difference between the user scores and the critic scores. So I can appreciate that, but just be careful when you use Metacritic. Stay alert, stay safe.
Yeah.
Use Metacritic, with caution. But I think we need to move on to our next piece of news. Capcom, our good friend Capcom, is deciding to shift their priorities. And I bet the gist of this is just saying that, it states that in the future, they will try to put more time and effort into the quality of their games instead of meeting deadlines, as they have, at the very least, they have openly admitted that, yes, Street Fighter V was not, in a finished state when it released. Like, it is very clear to me that, it was very clear to everyone that it wasn't finished when they released it, and at least they know that, at the very least, or at least they're admitting it and not pretending. So they're talking about how they want to branch out, they want to add more people to the team, and they also, the one kind of interesting thing is that they said that by increasing their team and having more people on projects, they might be able to reintroduce IPs that they haven't used in a long time, which I found was kind of interesting. I guess this is kind of a good step in the right direction, but this is Capcom. We'll have to see. which direction they choose to go with this. But I'd love to hear what you think, Fulas.
Okay, so this article made me laugh, man. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen this A&W article where they're like that, oh, come try our burgers now made with 100% real beef. And I'm like, then what the hell were you making them with all these years before? Right? And it's like, Capcom are like, yeah, from now on, we're going to release finished games. And I'm like, no shit! No shit, guys! What? Are you kidding? It took you this long to realize that people did not like paying full price for half games? For God's sake, Capcom. Seriously, man. What happened to this company? We've been over that so many times.
We've been over
that. Like this is so ridiculous. So unbelievably ridiculous. They're like, yeah, we realize that people don't like buying unfinished games. And in the future, we'll finish our games instead of, even if it means delaying them. Oh my God! Really, Capcom?
Yeah, like the more you think about it, the more ridiculous the statement actually becomes, and it's like
no. Nominate these guys for Company of the Year. What are you talking about, Tanner?
Yeah, no, sorry, not CD Projekt Red.
Fuck CD Projekt Red.
Capcom is where it's
Company
at.
Of the Year. Like, seriously, guys. This article had me dying. Oh my God. These guys are dumbasses. Seriously, man. Like, they're guilty until proven innocent with me at this point, Like, some companies can come out and be like, we're going to do something different with the next game, and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Capcom is not one of those companies anymore. At this point, until they release a game and somebody else buys it and tells me this game is awesome, Capcom is never getting $1 from me ever again. And not even $1, not even getting faith from me. Like, because recently, some dude, like the CEO of Catan Games, I believe, he released a couple of tweets saying that Resident Evil 7 is in development. The entire game is going back to Resident Evil's horror roots, and they're going to show it at E3. Right? Oh, they also mentioned that one of the designers previously worked on MGS5 and PT. And then the comment section, the first one is, yes, a Resident Evil we've all been begging for years now. And I'm like, this guy's a dumbass. No offense to this guy, right? But he's okay, a dumbass is a rude word. But like the very next comment is like, I heard/read the same thing every time a new Resident Evil is announced. And this is the guy that I relate to, because it's like, yes, every single time when they announced Resident Evil 6, they were like that, they understood that they made a mistake with Resident Evil 5 and they're going to switch it up with 6. Yeah, switch it up.
Well, yeah, that's fair. I'm really hoping though that this is true, because the problem with Resident Evil, that I know Resident Evil 4 is a fantastic game, right?
Yeah.
It's a fantastic game. But it was able to balance horror and action very well. Now, the problem with Resident Evil is that when Resident Evil 5 came out, they put too much emphasis on the action and less emphasis on the horror. I mean, hell, half the levels were in the daytime, for God's sakes. So that was a little bit of a misstep, even though, like, I wouldn't even say Resident Evil 5 is like that bad of a game.
No,
it's like an average. It's like a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10, I guess. That would be my rough estimate. But the problem with Resident Evil 6 is that they went way too down the action route, to the point where it just got really ridiculous, and it wasn't even like good action. Like,
it was quick time events.
It was quick time events and fucking getting chased by avalanches while riding snowmobiles. You remember that? There was a part.
No, I don't.
You don't.
I didn't play Resident Evil 6. It's funny. My friend actually offered, because Resident Evil 6 has co-op, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend actually offered to buy me Resident Evil 6 so I could play it with him, and I was like, dude, don't even waste your money. I'm never going to play that game. You're going to buy me the game, and I'm going to trade it into GameStop for something else.
Wow. Nice. That's such a dirtbag thing to do. Hey, man, I bought you this game so we could play together. Yeah, you know that game you gave me? Oh, I traded that for like $5. Got myself a Coke. it was
Hey, at
really,
least I told him. I was like, don't do it. You are warned, okay? This is
you
what's
are
going to
warned.
happen.
I am going to screw you over, so don't do it.
But yeah, I
Oh,
completely
Christ.
agree with you. And
Uh,
it's so funny because Resident Evil 4 is simultaneously one of the best and one of the worst things to happen to the Resident Evil franchise.
in a
Because
lot of
when
ways,
it came
you know what?
out,
In a lot of ways, it's kind of like the Call of Duty 4.
yeah, that is such a good analogy.
Yeah.
Because yeah, when it released, Resident Evil was stuck in a rut. You know, the games have started becoming samey, and people were losing interest in the franchise. Resident Evil 4 came out and revitalized the franchise, and you know, it was a critical and commercial success. And then they stuck too much to that formula for 5 and 6, and now you know they're right back
Yeah.
where they were right before 4 came out. Wow,
Yeah.
that's actually a really good analogy.
Yeah.
The Call of Duty 4 one. So yeah, you know, I was gonna say we shall see, but this is Capcom, so I'm going to assume that they're going to shit the bed with Resident Evil 7, and until they prove me wrong, that's just where I'm going to go. But it is a pity because I feel like, you know, a brand new horror-focused Resident Evil could make some waves, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, what was the last big budget horror game that we got?
I would say Evil Within, to be honest.
Yeah, and that game was.
Evil Within was okay. Like it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, what was the last big budget, critically acclaimed horror game that we had? Exactly.
I can't think of.
It's mostly indie games. Maybe Alien Isolation. That's probably the only game I can think of that was also, it had a big budget and it was critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like other than that, man, it's mostly indie games now. So yeah, there's a market here, and it's not like Resident Evils did not sell back in the day when they were horror games. You know, people buy horror games. Silent Hill sold a bunch. Resident Evil sold a bunch. Dead Space sold a bunch before you know EA ruined that franchise.
Yeah.
So like there is a market here, but Capcom, you know, it's hard to see the market with their heads up their asses. So it's I guess we'll see at E3.
I guess we'll see. Like honestly, like when we get to E3 and if they do the trailer, we'll have a better idea of where they're actually going with this. Unless it's just like unless this is just like a teaser and it's just like a picture of an eyeball moving around. It's like Resident Evil 7. But we'll have to see. Like I kind of want I really do want that. I really do want like a more classic. Like, and I think it's smart in the sense where they're being smart in the sense where it's like, you know, they're doing, you know, stuff like Revelation, which is basically, you know, spin-offs of Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they're also doing a bunch of I know you don't like remakes, obviously. We established that. But, you know, for games like Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil, 2, they did announce a while back they're doing a Resident Evil 2 remake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, I'm actually kind of excited for that because those are games I never got to play, and when you look back at them, they look like ass. like if you compare the remake to Resident Evil 1 to actual Resident Evil 1, like, goddamn, there's a jump in presentation. So I am interested to see, but yeah, Capcom can always two steps forward, more like one step forward, two steps back. With Capcom.
More like one step forward, backflip,
backdash.
But one last thing before we move on. It would make sense for Resident Evil 7 to be announced this year because, and we keep forgetting this, this is the 20th, and this year is the 20th anniversary of Resident Evil.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's hard to tell because of how poorly Capcom have handled this year, but...
actually, I was gonna say one thing. This would it might have actually made more sense to announce Resident Evil 7 and also announce the spin-off game, the multiplayer one.
Yeah, it would have made sense, but then you're also assuming that Capcom have any sense.
Yeah, that's true. Man, we're shitting on Capcom. I hope they don't do anything to us in the future. Whoa, wouldn't that be just bad? Whoopsie doodles. Let's go on to our next piece of news before we dig our graves anymore. threw out a new Overwatch new short, animated short called Dragon, starring Hanzo and Genji, and it was dope. It was great.
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Cause I thought it was really cool. Just great animation, great CG effects. It was really really awesome. The music was great. I liked how it was almost like it was a very like Asian like lore kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it was an Asian fable, like in a way, and I felt that fit it perfectly. What I thought was kind of weird though, kind of spoilery, but I thought it was kind of weird that I assumed that, it was going to be more like, Hanzo was the good brother and Genji was like the evil brother.
Really? You thought Genji was the evil brother?
I kind of just assumed.
Hey, it's the watch again.
Yeah, it's the watch. It never ceases to, be on time. But I just assumed that that's how it was going to play out. So it was kind of interesting to see that it was kind of the reverse. So, I don't know. I thought that was actually really, really cool. Honestly, just another really great Overwatch trailer. But what did you think, Fawaz?
Okay, so quick lore smash. Hey, that's what we should call it if we make videos about lore.
Hey, lore smash.
So here's the thing: is that Hanzo and Genji were both members of a crime family, like the Shimada Syndicate or some shit like that. I can't remember the actual name. And Genji was a wayward son, which brings up the question: how can you be a wayward son when you are in a crime family?
Yeah.
What was he doing? Seriously. So anyway, he was a bit of a wayward son, and the parents ordered Hanzo to bring him in tow. The two of them dueled, and Hanzo killed Genji, or at least he thought he did. So Mercy saves Genji, and the Overwatch program puts him in the robotic body. Mm-hmm. And then Zenyatta helps him come to terms with being half man, half machine, and that is the jumping off point of the shorts. Mm-hmm. Over the court, during this time, Hanzo thinks that Genji is dead, and it fills him with regret. After he kills Genji, or he thinks he kills Genji, he actually leaves the Shimada crime family, the Shimada crime syndicates, because he just if you notice, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of Hanzo's lines in the game revolve around redemption, because that's what he's searching for. He's haunted by the fact that he killed his brother. So then the short begins, and they duke it out. You remember when we covered the StarCraft teaser, and I was like that. I just love it when I see the fight playing out in a cinematic, when I see people using their abilities in a cinematic way. So when Hanzo, he aims the arrow and the head clicks open, I'm like, oh my god, he's about to use a scatter arrow, and then he fires at the scatter arrow, and then Genji deflects everything. I'm like, oh my god, he's using deflect.
Nice.
And then they fight, and then Hanzo picks up the bow, and he says his little Japanese line, fires off the arrow, and then Hanzo pulls out says his shit, and oh my god, I lost it. When Hanzo summoned when Genji summons the dragons, I lost it. I was fanboying so hard. Oh my god, that was a very very nice short. Hats off to Blizzard. Quick question.
Yeah.
Has any game ever? Are they the first game to do this?
What do you mean?
Promote their game using a bunch of cinematic shorts.
Cinematic shorts.
To this with this level of quality anyway. I've seen games use motion comics before the game comes out. They have a couple motion comics that promote the game. And the closest thing I can think of is Team Fortress 2, which they did with the Meet the Team shorts.
Team Fortress 2 would be what I would say. Yeah, the shorts in Team Fortress 2 are absolutely fantastic.
They're so funny. You should watch the Scout short if you haven't already, and the Spy.
Oh, the Spy one was so good.
Absolute favorite. But yeah, because what happened was I was trying to think that, okay, where do they go next? How are they going to handle this when the game actually launches? Are they going to have like a full-on short film? And I was trying to think of I was trying to see how a different company did it with their game, and I couldn't think of any other company that had done something similar.
I would actually say Team Fortress 2 would actually be the best example of that, because the game came out, but they didn't actually have all the Meet the Team shorts created, so they just kept going. And even after they finished all the Meet the Teams, they actually released some extra shorts of just the characters just hanging out and together.
They released like a half-hour short.
They released like a 15-minute short of them getting poisoned by bread.
Bread one,
bread one, which was great. So if Overwatch did something similar, I'd be really happy with that, and that would be my man. That was a great short. I feel like playing Overwatch now. Like that would be a great way to revitalize the interests.
Yeah, a good free way. It's like a good free way to revitalize. Well, free for us.
Okay,
anyway.
Free for us. Yeah, it's like wow. Yeah. We're just not gonna pay the animators. We're gonna lock them in a room and say, yeah, get to work. We need more people playing Overwatch.
Yeah, that's a really good example. I mean, the difference between this and Team Fortress is that there's actually an overarching story involved in Overwatch. Team Fortress was just jokes and jokes and jokes, and
there was a little bit. There was actually a little bit of lore in Team Fortress 2, but not at the same level as the lore in Overwatch.
Yeah. So there's actual lore here. And one really cool thing about it is that we're gradually learning about the lore as it's going on, because like the characters say little things to each other. And a lot of the times they say stuff, and at the time when you hear it, you're like, okay, there's history between these characters, but I don't really know what it is. For example, when I first started watching the beta, the closed beta, if you had Widowmaker and Tracer on a team together, Widowmaker would be like, oh, it looks like we're working together. And Tracer's like, well, don't think I'm happy about that. And, at the time, we're like, ooh, stop, there's some history here. And then the short comes out, we're like, oh, that's what happened, And then, there's stuff that we haven't, because like we know that Reaper went from being Reyes to being Reaper, but we don't know what happened in between. We don't know what happened to him. We don't know how he turned into Reaper. So that could be a really cool short down the line.
Yeah.
And then we know that Farah has some issues with her mother. Like there's a lot of lines that she says where it sounds like her and her mother don't have the best relationship. Her mother isn't actually in the game yet, in case you're wondering. But yeah, like I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go from here. The next short is gonna be the Soldier 76 one. So I'm interested to see that, because he was the creator of Overwatch. So I'm hoping that short reveals some more stuff, because if I had one complaint with the Shimada Brothers short, is that it didn't actually reveal anything new.
Yeah, not a whole lot. It gave us some more details about Hanzo and Genji, but that was really about it.
Yeah, and it smoothed out the timeline, but yeah, that was it. So I'm hoping the 76 one actually gives us some more info, like more insight into his relationship with Reaper, for example, because the two of them have a really rocky relationship, and a couple more stuff like that. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. Hopefully, I don't know if we're gonna get the 76 one before launch. I'll be surprised, because the game is launching on Monday.
Yeah, I doubt it. It. Maybe just like after launch or something like that.
Yeah, and one last thing before we move on to our questions. So Blizzard just recently announced that the beta was really successful, one of the biggest betas ever, and actually, this is really weird, and I apologize, but I just started saying a bit of news, realizing that it wasn't actually news.
I'm pretty sure we did this before.
Let's just move on to this.
All right, Fawaz, we all make mistakes. Right, guys? Right? We all make mistakes, right, Capcom? We can all be, forgiven for those mistakes. Whoops. Let's go do some questions. Okay. So Jay Streets asks us, which games have the best minigames, and what are those minigames? See, it's weird. For me, most of the games I play, they don't really have many minigames that leave much of an impact on me. You know what I mean? Like, they just, I just kind of see them and I'm like, whatever. So I guess I could be cheating, because I would say it's more of a collection of minigames. I would say the Mario Party games.
That doesn't count.
I know it doesn't count, but it's
listed minigame game as the example.
Well, it's a game that has minigame games.
Oh my god.
Then maybe the only other game that I could think of where I actually put a decent amount of time into the minigames that I can think of at the moment is Red Dead. I actually played a lot of the little like the poker, the blackjack, and the little dice game.
Okay.
And it was kind of funny where I was like, I spent like 2 hours playing some of the little mini games in the saloon, and I was like, wait, shouldn't I be like playing the story or something? It's like, okay, I should probably go do that, because I'm borrowing it from a friend. Well, that's sort of like that's what comes to mind for me. But what about you, Fawaz?
You wanna take a guess what my favorite minigame is?
I wonder.
So I'm gonna go with. So I'm torn between two here, right?
Okay.
There's the first mini game, the first game with a mini game that really caught my attention, which is Blitzball, right? Yeah, I actually sank a lot of time, recruiting my team, leveling up my characters, learning new moves and all that stuff, trying to win the Blitzball championship. So I put a lot. That was the first time a video, because usually the mini games were like Grand Theft Auto mini games. You play them once and that's it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Blitzball was the first one that really, really got my attention. But if I had to pick, I'd have to pick Gwent. It's like pretty much exactly what you said. I was just sitting. I spent hours just playing Gwent. And I'm not done yet, With the new expansion, they're going to add new Gwent cards.
More Gwent cards.
Yeah, I haven't beaten the Gwent tournament yet. I haven't collected all the Gwent cards yet. I just took a break from The Witcher. I didn't think like, if I was still playing The Witcher, I'd still be playing Gwent. So yeah, that is, it's going to have to be Gwent, man. That game, it's actually funny. They at PAX, I think, they asked the crowd if they would be interested in having a standalone Gwent game, and the crowd went wild. So they took a clip of that and they sent that to their bosses over at CD Projekt, right? So there is a possibility that we might get a standalone Gwent game. Now, I wouldn't actually pay. I don't think I'd pay money for a standalone Gwent game. There have to be a couple of tweaks. I don't think the game has enough depth to. I don't think the game has enough depth to actually be stand on its own 2 feet.
Okay,
But yeah, as part of a larger awesome game, Gwent is probably one of the most polished mini games I've ever played.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, good question, Jay Streets. Awesome.
As always.
And Lobster Monk asks us, if you could personally lead a AAA studio to make one game of any kind, what genre of game, and a small description of what it's about? Do you mind if I take first swing?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, I'm going to be honest. It's got to be an action RPG, Got to have a big story, big adventure, lots of leveling up, lots of, abilities to unlock and whatnot. I'd love to work on like a Shadowrun kind of game, or something based on like the comic book series Saga. If anyone's heard of that.
You're a Saga fan.
Oh, I just got into Saga and it's great. It's great. But because I really like the idea of a mix between sci-fi and fantasy. You know what I mean? I really like that because it's really weird, but it's cool at the same time. Like, seeing robots, but also in like a more medieval society.
Yeah. Like
stuff like that I find like just so cool and interesting. So I would love to work on a game like that. Basically a mix between fantasy and sci-fi. And obviously core things, you travel to multiple worlds and you get to hang out with party members. Like that's what I want. That would be like my dream game. Would be like you explore the universe, you get to hang out with party members in a really weird universe, and it's an RPG, so you get some some cool RPG aspects as well. So I guess that's my answer. What about you, Fawaz?
For me, it would be Unreal Championship 3. Yeah, I would make a sequel to Unreal Championship 2, the Leandri Conflict. Now, for those that don't know, and a lot of people didn't know because Unreal Championship 2 sold like shit, Unreal Championship 2 was a very, very weird mix between a fighting game and a shooter, right? So you had your basic shooter mechanics. You started the match and you picked your loadout, 2 weapons, and every character had access to 6 abilities. How the abilities were okay. Let me see. Shit. Every character had access to 6 abilities. There was a lot of mobility in the game. You couldn't wall run, but you could wall jump. Every character had 2. There were 2 abilities that were universal: nimble and speed. Nimble made you float in the air. Not sure why you'd want to do that in a game where half the cast have rocket launchers, but speed did exactly what it says. So it made you faster. How you used abilities was you had a little super bar, and you filled it up by killing people, and you could also pick up these little things on the stages that filled up your super bar. You could also do these things because you had your primary weapon. Okay, so you had the two weapons that you pick up, right? But those weapons had ammo, and then you had your primary weapon, which is like a gun, like a pistol, and the pistol throws people after a couple shots. When you free someone, you can lock onto them and do what's called a coup de grace, which is like a finishing move. Right. And they were just like really flashy. But if you did them, it gave you full bar. It gave you like a full super bar. Every character had one ability that healed them, and there was just so much depth. All the characters were unique. Okay, how they broke down the abilities. Every character had 6 abilities. 2 abilities were universal, nimble and speed. Then there were 3 abilities, I think, that were universal to that character's race. Like all the vampires had vampirism, where you activate it, and then for a short period of time, your bullets drained health. And then every character had one ability that was unique. Like, there's this one character I played. He had this ability called concussion, where he fired off this beam, and then if whoever it connected with, their screen started shaking, and it made it really hard for them to see where they were going. Oh, okay. There was one character he had an ability called self-destruct that to this day, 10 years later, I still haven't found a use for. So the game had like so much depth. I completely forgot. You had melee attacks as well, right? So you could. No. And you're like, what are you talking about, Tanner? What are you talking about, Paul? Every shooter has melee attacks. No, you could actually put your gun away and go hand to hand. Yeah. And how it worked was you had your regular melee attacks. Then you had 2 dashes that you could do, one of which cost meter and wasn't really fast. The other which required you to charge up, but it didn't cost bar. You had a shield you could put up that could, when you are running in to body somebody, you could put up the shield, and draining the shield cost bar as well, I think. So meter management, there was a lot of meter management involved. You could deflect, which was awesome, because if you thought a sniper was about to hit you, you deflect the shot and you hit him with a headshot. That is one of the best feelings in the world. That game was awesome. It also had a really cool Egyptian theme to the characters, and it's just.
So you'd love to just recreate a very basically a sequel to that kind of game.
Honestly, give me an HD remake. I know I shit on HD remakes, but this is one situation where I wouldn't even be bad. Just give me an HD remake. But yeah, if I was the head of a AAA studio, I would make an Unreal Championship sequel. And if I was the head of any team that isn't Epic, I would make one I would do what all these people do on Kickstarter and just make a sequel in everything but name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but if I was actually the head of Epic,
Unreal Tournament, the Fawaz Complex or something.
Yeah, some shit like that. But if I was actually the head of Epic, I would make a straight up sequel to Unreal Championship 3. Like that game, oh my god, so much fun. I love that game so much. Yeah.
Good answer. Thanks again, Lobster Monk. Great question. And if you'd like to leave a question for us, don't forget to leave it in the comment section. We'll make sure to answer it in the next podcast. And as always, this was your host, William Liberty, and...
Well, that's Muhammad Yusuf.
And we'll see you guys next time.